So with our fractions, okay, so let's say we have secant of x over tangent of x minus tangent of x over secant of x equals cotangent of x over secant of x. Okay. Something big must have happened. All right. So when you see something like this, okay, if you have a sine or cosine, or if you have nothing with sine or cosine, change them into sines and cosines. Okay, because there's not even sines or cosines over here, but we're going to leave those alone. So what's secant? 1 over cosine of x. What's tangent? Sine of x over cosine of x minus tangent and the sine of x over cosine of x. Secant is 1 over cosine of x equals cotangent of x over secant of x. Okay, now what's our next step? Multiply by the denominator of the denominator. Cosine of x, cosine of x, cosine of x, cosine of x. So we get 1 minus sine of x on the top, or 1 over sine of x here, and then sine of x over 1 here. There we go. That's what we get. Okay? So let's get a common denominator. So 1 over sine of x minus sine of x over 1, and we multiply top and bottom by sine of x to get a common denominator. So you get 1 minus sine squared of x over sine of x. All right. What can we do with, see there's no addition or subtraction over here. What can we do here to get rid of that addition or subtraction? What is 1 minus sine squared equal to? Cosine squared of x. We're getting close, but we're not quite there. Now what we have to do is, see, what is cotangent really? Cosine over sine, right? So we've got something really close there. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to split this up into cosine of x times cosine of x over sine of x. Now I know this is cotangent, right? How can I change cosine into 1 over secant? Well, cosine, if I multiply by 1 over cosine on the top and bottom, because I could do that in trig. Okay? If I multiply by 1 over cosine to get rid of the cosine up here, I have 1 over cosine in the denominator. So 1 over cosine in the denominator is 1 over secant. And then this is cotangent, which is really cotangent over 1. So we get cotangent of x over secant of x. So, as you can see, we upped the level just a little bit on this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 steps on that one. Okay? So when we start dealing with fractions, there's a little bit more work that goes on. Okay? Let's do another one. Let's say we have cosine of x over cosine of x plus 1 equals secant of x minus 1 over tangent squared of x. Now, most of you would say we should really change the right side because the left side is simple and the right side is more complicated. Okay? But in Mr. Bierschbach's trig class, Mr. Bierschbach doesn't allow that because he makes you think. Makes you think and plan and see what you can do to plan ahead. Because trig isn't always about learning trigonometric functions. Trig is about learning to make you think. Okay, think ahead, plan. Okay, so we got to plan this out a little bit. So notice how I have a minus sign there. Okay, do you see any minus signs over here? No. To make a minus sign, and see how there's just one thing on the bottom and there's two things on the bottom here? So to make a minus sign, I'm going to multiply by something. Now, what do you call it when you multiply it by the exact same thing except for it is its opposite sign? We multiply by the what? Conjugate. Ooh, and I called it con. So I'm going to multiply by the cosine of x minus 1. Whatever you do on the bottom, you have to do on the top. All right. So we multiply top and bottom by cosine of x minus 1. So I'm going to leave this as what should I do? I'm going to leave this separated on the top. So I'm going to go cosine of x times cosine of x minus 1 for right now. And on the bottom, I'm going to get cosine to cosine, which is cosine squared of x. Outer and inner are going to cancel, minus 1. What a shot from Tiger. Well, let's see the replay. Ooh, nice one. He should have a birdie there. All right, back to this. All right. Equals secant of x minus 1 over tangent squared. Okay, I got cosine squared minus 1. What does cosine squared minus 1 equal to? Sine squared, right? So I got cosine of x times cosine of x minus 1 over sine squared of x equals secant of x minus 1 over tangent squared of x. Okay. Now, how is sine squared related to tangent squared? Well, tangent squared is sine squared over cosine squared. So what if I multiplied this by 1 over cosine squared? What would I have to do on top? Same thing, 1 over cosine squared. So, you'll see where it's going here in a second. A cosine on the top cancels with that cosine. So I have cosine of x minus 1 times 1 over cosine on the top. And on the bottom, I have sine squared of x over cosine squared of x. What's sine squared over cosine squared? Tangent squared. So I got the bottom to match. If we distribute on the top, we get cosine of x over cosine of x minus 1 over cosine of x. And oh, I think I have a mistake. I made a mistake somehow, somewhere along. What's cosine squared of x minus 1 equal to? It's not sine squared of x. It is, no, cosine squared of x minus 1. It's negative sine squared of x. Come on, Mr. Bierschbach. Can't be making mistakes like that. Which is negative tangent squared of x. All right. We're almost there. Okay. Now, the top is 1 minus, what's 1 over cosine? Secant of x over negative tangent squared of x. So, if we multiply the bottom by a negative 1 to get rid of that negative, what do we do to the top? Multiply by negative 1. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. Negative 1 times negative secant is positive secant. How many steps there? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Only 7 on that one. Let's do one more, and then I'll unleash the fractions on you. Okay, 1 over secant of x minus tangent of x equals 1 plus sine of x over cosine of x. All right. This one, not so bad. Okay. Secant and tangent, what do I turn that into? 1 over cosine of x. Tangent is sine of x over cosine of x equals 1 plus sine of x over cosine of x. Now, the denominator, we can combine the fraction to be 1 minus sine of x over cosine of x. Now, I have a minus sign in the denominator. I have a plus sign in the numerator. So what did we do last time? Multiplied by the conjugate of the denominator. So the conjugate of that is 1 plus sine of x. And so we'll multiply the top and the... So we'll just go like this once. Okay? Uh-oh. Did I do something wrong? So then we get, if we multiply both the top and bottom by 1 plus sine of x, I get 1 plus sine of x. Oh, no, I'm good. And the bottom, 1 times 1 is 1. Outers and inners of conjugates always cancel. Minus sine of x times sine of x is sine squared of x over cosine of x. So my numerator is good. So I don't want to touch my numerator anymore. It's just my denominator. What's 1 minus sine squared of x? Cosine squared of x. So 1 plus sine of x over cosine of x equals 1 plus sine of x over cosine of x. because cosine squared over cosine is cosine. Okay, working with fractions today. So you're going to kind of bounce around to different problems. Okay, so on page 172, we are doing 54 through 56. Yeah. 54, 55, 56. And then we're doing 61 and 63. Those 5 problems before lunch. I'll leave that up for a couple minutes before we go back to golf. So 5 problems, they take a little bit more work. So it's going to take a little bit of brain power to do some of these. Everybody got the assignment written down? I should check and see. Tigers at 1 under. So Tiger must have screwed up a putt because he had not a long ways for eagle and not a long ways for birdie last 2 holes. So he must have screwed one of them up.